Yes, legal liability insurance policy is one policy which is mostly sought after by the carrier firms, logistic firms, and transport firms. Why it is required, that is important to understand, because when we are sending any consignment, any cargo, any kind of goods from one place to another place, we have to look for certain methods or modes of transportation. And these modes of transportations could be waterways, airways, railways, and roadways. If at all we are sending it by waterways, ships, steamers, boat, or any kind of hull can be used, provided cost to cost connectivity is there, means coastal areas are there. It can be connected with other transportations also. And then the airways, if anything is sent through the airways, air cargo carrier or helicopter or any other air device can be used for that. Nowadays even the drones are used for that. Railway is one of the big source of transportation of the goods, because railways are running since beginning. The goods train meant for carrying the goods only, or at times certain specific trains are also introduced. But the biggest source of transportation of goods is roadways. Because roadways means all kind of goods carrying commercial vehicles are used for carrying the goods from one place to another place. And these goods carrying commercial vehicles could be light commercial vehicle, medium commercial vehicle, heavy commercial vehicles. They could be specialized vehicles also, like tanker, refrigerated vehicle, open body vehicle, closed body vehicles. All these kind of vehicles are used for transportation of goods through the road route. Important thing is, this carrier's legal liability insurance policy covers only the risk of the road route. And so the vehicles which are carrying the goods through the road route are subject to insurance. Now the important question is, why this policy is required by the transporters, logistic firms, and the carriers? Because the movement of cargo or the merchandise or the goods from one place to another place creates a risk of them being damaged during the transportation. Right from the place of loading to the place of unloading, and through the entire journey, there could be damages or loss to the goods by any reason. So this uncertainty prevails throughout the journey period as well as at the loading or unloading periods. That is the reason the transporters require this policy. Another important factor is, the person who is sending the goods may have the insurance policy or may not have the insurance policy. But in both the situations, the owner of the goods had the choice. If his goods is lost or damaged or leaked, in that case, he can claim for the loss or damages either from the insurer or from the transporter. But preferably, in case of insurance policy, he will go to recover it from the insurance company. That is most comfortable and easy method. So once he is claiming the loss from the insurance company, and after settling the claim, the insurer will definitely ask for the subrogation letter from the owner of the goods. So that subrogation letter is becoming a documentary evidence to recover the loss or damages caused by the transporter firm. So the insurance company will utilize that document, that is subrogation letter, to recover it, the same amount of compensation which he has paid to the owner of the goods. So they will try to recover it from the transporter, because they are the third party who are responsible for the cause of loss. That means transporter is responsible under both the circumstances, either the goods is insured or not. If it is insured, the amount has to be paid to the insurance company, because they are recovering it on behalf of the owner of the goods through subrogation letter. If it is not insured, the owner himself will recover the loss or damage amount from the transporter. The transporter or the logistic firm or the carrier cannot escape this liability. Why? Because they have charged the freight for it. and it is their responsibility to deliver the goods to the person or to the place directed by the owner of the goods, because for that only they charge the freight. So as far as the loss or damages to the goods are concerned, this is the responsibility of the transporter firm to pay the compensation to the owner of the goods. And this is a everyday affair. This is happening in routine. Because the transporter firm may have number of GCCBs all utilized for transportation purposes. And in any of them, if the goods or the cargo is damaged, it is the duty of the transporter to pay the compensation to the owner of the goods. So carrier's legal liability policy comes to the rescue of the transporter firm or logistic firm to cover such liabilities. That means carrier's legal liability pays only for the loss of goods or loss of cargo, and not for any other thing. So who can buy this policy? Simply, of course, transporters, carriers and logistic firms, because they are the people who are engaged in transporting the goods from one place to another place. Now, vehicle can be owned or hired. This is an important aspect of this policy, because all transporters are not having all owned vehicles. Some of them may be hired vehicles, and it depends upon their turnover. Larger is the turnover, higher is the requirement of number of vehicles. But all those vehicles cannot be purchased by the transporters because of their financial constraints. So at times, to run their entire turnover, they are hiring some GCCBs and paying the rental for them. So whatever number of vehicles they are owning and hiring, they all can be insured under a carrier's legal liability insurance policy. So this carrier's legal liability policy covers the legal liability of the road carriers for actual physical loss or damage to goods or merchandise or cargo while they are carrying it. So they are the people who will look for this policy. Now the question is, what is the scope of cover? Means the policy doesn't cover all risk. This has the limited coverage, and the coverage includes fire, explosion and accidents. In addition, arising due to the negligence of the insured or his employees or his representative or his servants. That means fire, explosion, accidents and negligence. These risks are covered. In addition, fraud strike and terrorism risk can be covered on payment of additional premium. So these are the add-ons of the policy. Now the key considerations of the policy says, policy cannot be issued for more than 12 months. This is an annual policy, but it is renewable on the expiry. Every year it can be renewed. It is normally given to the reputed transport firm. But our precondition is, whenever we are giving a carrier's legal liability policy to any transporter or carrier firm, this is our precondition that whatever number of vehicles he is owning or hiring, all those vehicles must be comprehensively insured under a motor package policy. Comprehensively insured means, as far as third party liability is concerned, even third party policy is sufficient, and that is the legal requirement. If the third party policy is there, the insurance purpose is solved. But no, our requirement is he must have a comprehensive policy. And normally transporter firms are having the comprehensive policies only because they know the vehicles are costly and the accidents are normal. So at any point of time, if there is an accident or loss or damage to the vehicle, they will claim it from the insurance company because they are having the comprehensive policy. So that comprehensive policy should continue throughout the CLL policy period. That means carrier's legal liability policy is also issued for the 1 year. And during that period, the comprehensive motor policy of the vehicles of the transporter firm should continue If at all any policy is expiring, it should be renewed in continuation without break. Because at the time of loss or damage, if it is found that the vehicle was not comprehensively insured, the carrier's legal liability policy will also not pay the claim. That means this is a prerequisite that the vehicle must be comprehensively insured under a motor package policy. Now all vehicles must have a roadworthy condition. For all commercial vehicles, a roadworthy condition means a fitness certificate issued by the RTO. Without fitness, commercial vehicles are not roadworthy. So that is a documentary requirement that must have or complied with by the transporter firm. For all number of vehicles owned by the transporter firm, a single fleet policy of carrier's legal liability policy can be issued. Fleet policy. That means even the transporter is having 10 trucks, 100 trucks, 200 trucks. They all can be insured under one policy. Vehicle again could be different in make and model. They could be the LMB, HMB, or you can say LCB, HCB, MCB, tanker, refrigerated vehicle, in whatever form they all can be insured under a fleet policy. Now, maintenance of proper record of law or logbook is necessary because in transportation business, two documents are necessarily maintained by the transporter firms, and these are known as the logbook and the consignment note. Logbook is required for the entry of each vehicle on what date it was sent where, it came back from where. So all to and fro entries of each vehicle are maintained in the log. Secondly, whatever cargo is sent, that detail is mentioned in the consignment note, and that is sent transporter to transporter. This policy can be issued at a premium of 500 plus GST minimum. Otherwise, whatever is the premium as per calculation. So this shows that the policy is annual only. It is issued only for 12 months, but this is renewable. And the precondition of the company is that all vehicles, so either owned or hired, must be comprehensively insured under a motor package policy. And the related documents, either vehicle related or the business related, must be maintained and completed by the transporter firm, because at the time of issuance of policy, these documents are not required, but of course, at the time of settlement of claim, all these documents will be asked from the transporter firm, then only the claim will be settled. Now coming to the most important aspect, that is covered duration of the journey. This is interesting because every transporter to whom you are giving a carrier's legal liability policy will ask for the comfort. And his comfort is involving in how many extra days you are providing in your cover duration. Because cover commences at the point of origin where from the vehicle has to start. But at that time also, the risk of loading is covered. And during that operation also, if there is any loss or damage, that will be covered under the policy. Point of origin means where from the journey will start. Say suppose a lorry is going from Jaipur to Bangalore. So of course the goods will be loaded in that lorry from at Jaipur only. The point of origin is Jaipur. And in Jaipur also, while the loading of the goods operations are there could be loss or damage. So that risk is also covered. The policy starts with loading at the point of origin. Commencement of cover will start from place of origin with loading of cargo or goods or merchandise on the vehicle and remain until the same is unloaded at the point of discharge. Now point of discharge means final destination, that is, if it is going from Jaipur to Bangalore, that means Bangalore is the final destination. So when it has reached to the Bangalore, it doesn't mean the risk is over. Final destination or the point of discharge, the vehicle loaded with the goods has reached, but the policy is still covering the risk. Policy ends with unloading. Either the goods is unloaded or expiry of 3 days. Means on the next day if the goods is damaged, that is still covered. On the second last day if the goods is damaged, it is still covered. So expiry of 3 days. After 3rd day, the risk will be terminated. So the comfort given under this policy by us is 3 days coverage. Because policy ends with unloading or expiry of 3 days, whichever is earlier. So this is most comfortable to the transporter because at times when the loaded vehicle is reaching to the point of discharge or final destination, it is not necessary that the godown of that transporter where the goods has to be unloaded has the adequate place for unloading, or maybe it has no place at that time. So it may take 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. And that is the comfort they often look for from the insurance. So we are providing 3 days extra for unloading of the goods. Now how the policy will be rated? 3 factors are to be included. Gross vehicle weight, that means GVW of each vehicle, that can be seen from the registration certificate of the vehicle. Limit of indemnity, that will be selected by the proposer firm or the transporter firm, because limit of indemnity then they usually select as the annual turnover. For that they need the coverage. Plus add-on covers, we have got 2, they can select both, 1 or none. So on these 3 point basis, the sum insured of the policy will be decided, and the limit of indemnity will be selected by the transporter himself. There is no compulsion, no criteria. He himself will select it. He can take the limit of indemnity as per his previous turnovers. He can increase it, he can decrease it, because the premium will be paid on the indemnity basis. Now there are certain provisions for discounting and loading also in the premiums. These are also considered by the underwriter while accepting the coverage. And these are the vehicle body, that is closed body, trailer, refrigerator, tanker, others, whatever body is there, all are acceptable. Fleet discount, depending upon the larger is the fleet, greater is the discount. Past claim history, if there are no claims, the proposer can be given good discounts. Other good features are like age and fitness of the vehicle, type of cargo. Sometimes transporters are carrying some limited kind of cargo only. Say for example, I have a contact with a cement factory or with an oil depot. So that kind of cargo will be carried only, nothing otherwise. And most of the time, most of the transporters are carrying the mixed goods. So there is no restriction at all. Now compulsory access, if at all there is any claim on the policy, the claim will be paid after deducting 2% of the claim amount, subject to minimum of rupees 5,000 for each and every loss. It can differ in case of terrorism. So this is the compulsory access applicable to all the claims lodged on the policy. Now company may exclude certain risks like third party loss. So third party loss will be covered under the motor package policy. Though TP policy is also covering it, but our precondition is that each vehicle belonging to the transporter firm must have a comprehensive motor package policy, and that liability will be covered under that policy only. Contractual liability is excluded. Goods belonging to any servant or agent of the transporter firm is excluded. Loitering and strike is excluded, but it can be covered on payment of additional premium. Act of presence can be excluded, but it can be covered on payment of extra premium. Inherent defects of vice, that means all of you are able to understand whatever I am saying, or is it a one-way traffic, I am running fast or something like that? Is it okay with all? You are understanding? Okay, thank you. So, the inherent vice means defects or the loss due to the inherent properties of that car. Say suppose fruits or vegetables or some milk products are being sent. So since they've got limited life, over a period of time, they will start decay, or these are the perishable items. So that kind of liability will not be covered under the policy. Consequential losses are not covered under the policy. Depreciation, delay, loss of market are not covered. And sometimes the transporter are doing some mistakes, like he has got the state permit and he is sending out of the states. So since the permit is not there, obviously the vehicle can be challaned or stopped at the border of the states. In that case, if there is a loss or damage to the goods, insurance company is not responsible, because this is the fault of the transporter firms. You should have all the necessary documents related to the vehicles, like fitness certificate, like permit, like registration certificate, and even the driving license of the driver. So this is the basic thing. So these are the exclusions of the policy, and in these cases the insurance company will not pay the claim. But if at all there is any loss on the policy during the policy period, this will be settled by the insurance company. This will be settled by the insurance company on physical verification. Reason being, what is the loss, how much is the loss? This has to be physically inspected by the surveyor. The moment intimation come, and intimation come immediately. Intimation should come to the insurance company immediately. The moment the intimation comes to the insurance company will verify the document, and if they find. Rights are right. Thank you. And if they find that the risk is covered, they will immediately send a surveyor. Surveyor will rush to the spot immediately, and he will physically verify the losses, damages, and he will take the photograph also. So on that basis, on the basis of the report of the surveyor, the claim will be settled. But only important thing is, while settling the claim under the careless legal liability insurance policy, there are some different kind of documents which are required. So first of all, the insurance policy will be checked, because the comprehensive policy will be there. Then the vehicle's registration. If the goods is carried under any agreement, that copy of agreement is required. Then the certificate of registration, which is issued under the Carriage by Road Act 2007. This is different to the registration certificate of the vehicle, because the registration certificate of the vehicle is issued by the RTO. But this certificate of registration is issued by the Transport Department, authorizing the transport firm to carry out the business of the transportation. Normally, they are displaying the certificate in their offices. Then the fitness certificate, claim form, GR, goods receipt. This is again an important document, because GR is the document which is issued by the transporter firm to the owner of goods, mentioning the complete detail of that goods. Say suppose I am sending a washing machine from Jaipur to Bangalore to buy the transporter firm. Now washing machine belongs to me. I know the cost of it, the make of it, the model of it, the weight of it. Now this detail I will provide to transporter firm. They will mention as it is. Because transporter firm is not the owner of goods. Owner is me. So in that case, whatever detail is provided by the owner, that is mentioned in the G goods receipt. So the place where from it has to go, where it has to go on date, what is the item, what is the make, model, value, quantity, weight, all these things are mentioned in the GR. GR is also called liability. So this is an important document to settle the claim. Now good forward note. This is again a document, goes from transporter to transport firm. That will confirm whether this particular goods was sent by this transporter firm or not. So the detail will be cross-checked. These are the documents which will confirm the settlement of the claims. So they are invariably asked by the insurance company while settling the claim. Now the question is, when you are selling the carrier's liability policy to any firm, what bare minimum detail you are supposed to take from the proposal? Because on that basis only the underwriter will take the decision whether the cover is to be accepted or rejected. So the bare minimum detail required relates to number of vehicles to be covered, GVW of each vehicle, limit of indemnity for each vehicle. Is that one cover required for that? Both or one, whatever is the number. What is the type of vehicle body? Closed body, tanker, trailer, refrigerated vehicle. Age of the vehicle, type of cargo, what type of goods is to be carried, mixed or exclusive. In the sense, if some clothes are sent by the textile mill, so the exclusive clothes are going, or some other items are also there. Past claim history. Is a single policy required or a fleet policy required? So this is the bare minimum detail required to be collected from the proposer and to be filled in the proposal form. Only on that basis the underwriter will take a decision what should be the appropriate rating for this proposal and how the risk proposal has to be accepted. Only on the basis of this detail the underwriter will take the decision. Now, because this detail has to be asked from the transporter that he wants individual policy, maybe he is having the one or two vehicles only, he can select even individual policy also, but normally transporter firms are taking the fleet policy only because their number of vehicles keeps on increasing even during the policy period time. So whatever number of vehicles is increasing, that can be endorsed in between also. But the condition is that all vehicles should be mandatorily insured under a package insurance policy. Now the question is, the carrier need to renew the comprehensive motor policy in continuation, because if there is a break and at that time there is any loss, so the carrier's legal liability policy will not pay any claim if the comprehensive policy was not found valid on the date of loss. This policy can be given for all type of cargo. Means subject to goods can be covered as per the underwriting guidelines, but the contraband items are not allowed to carry. Contraband means the items which are not legally permitted to carry. Say for example, wine, whiskey, drugs, ammunitions, certain species of animals. So whatever consignment need special permission, those permissions should be there. Now when you are giving a carrier's legal liability policy to any firm, he may ask you a question. Why should I take a carrier's legal liability policy? Why not a marine transit policy? Because the risk of the journey period is also covered under the marine policy. Marine policy covers the risk of journey period only, transit period only, from one place to another place. So that policy is also available in the market, and that is the oldest policy. So they don't understand normally if it is a new form. So what is the difference between a carrier legal liability policy and a marine transit policy? So here you can explain. Carrier's legal liability policy covers liability. Means this is a liability policy. Whereas marine policy covers the property. That is not liability policy. Property means goods, cargo, merchandise. So carrier's legal liability policy protects carriers, transporters against their legal liability. arising due to the damage to the transported goods. How the liability arises in the goods? Because the goods does not belong to them. They are not the owners. They are not the proprietors. They are only the custodians. Custodians for the time being, till it is in their custody. The moment it is safely delivered to the directed person or to the directed place, their duty is over. Their liability is finished. So since the transporter firm is not the owner of any of the goods, which is transported by them in their vehicle, they bear a liability attaching to the owner of the goods. If at all anything happens during the transit or during the loading and unloading operations, they are responsible to pay the compensation to the owner of the goods. This is their legal liability. But in marine policy, no such liability is there. Why it is not there? Because in marine transit policy, this is the owner, this is the buyer or the seller or the consignee or the consignor who is sending the goods. So they all have got a legal right in that property. Either the buyer or the seller or the consignor or the consignee or the owner, they all have the insurable interest in that goods. So they are the people who can claim the compensation from the transporter at any point of time. So the marine policy can be taken by the owner of the goods, not by the transporters. So this is the basic difference. Now vehicles covered can be owned or hired. They all can be insured under the carrier's legal liability insurance policy for a minimum of 12 months. Policy can be for a shorter period, but not longer period, maximum 12 months. Now important aspect is under insurance is not applicable. And this is not applicable either in motor insurance as well as in the carrier's legal liability policy. Because two different aspects are there. All motor insurance policies are issued on the IDV basis. IDV means insured declared value. IDV is taken from the motor tariff. This motor tariff provides the table for 5 years. For 5 years that IDV table will apply on the same percentage to be deducted from the ex-showroom price. Thereafter, normally 10% is deducted every year. So the vehicle is insured on the market value basis that is determined by the IDV formula. So there is no need to apply under insurance and motor insurance. You have never seen the application of the under insurance in the motor vehicle insurance. Then why the under insurance is not applicable to carrier's legal liability insurance? Here the question is different. Reason being, carrier's legal liability policy carries the goods which is belonging to other persons. That means transporter is not the owner of the goods. Transporter don't know what is the real cost. He is only a custodian. So under insurance is not applicable as this policy covers only legal liability of the carriers for loss or damage to cargo caused by or covered event during the transit. So neither in motor insurance policy nor in CLL policy under insurance is not applicable. Now the question is how the liability will be selected. Because the liability will be paid by under the policy by the insurance company on the basis of the AOA or AOY limits. Now this AOA means animal accident or AOY means animal year. Both these limits have to be selected by the transporter firm, by the proposer, by the carrier firm. They will decide what is AOA, they will decide what is AOY, and they will mention it in the proposal form. Only on that basis the insurance company will settle the claim. But this is difficult to ascertain what is AOA and AOY. Because once you are deciding the any one accident limit and any one year limit, that will continue throughout the policy period. And that will be the liability of the insurance company in case of loss or damage to the goods. So what the insurance company will do? They'll ask, you give us the AOA and AOY. And you have a formula to decide AOA and AOY. AOY means whatever maximum loss is possible in any one incident, that should be AOA. And whatever total liability is possible during the entire year, that is AOY. So this can be assessed by a simple example. So suppose the carrying capacity of a truck is 12 tons, and the value of the 12 tons goods could be 10 lakh or 12 lakh. So the AOY can be AOA, and any one actual limit could be 10 lakh. Because more than 10 lakh loss is not possible in that case. But for the entire year, AOY, how many number of vehicles are there, how much goods will be loaded, so what would be the total turnover, that would be decided on the AOY basis. So both are selected and decided by the transporter firm, and they are given in the proposal form by the transporter firm, and the premium is charged on that AOA and AOY limits, because that is the limit of indemnity. Now premium rate differs cargo to cargo. If the items carried is fragile, item carried is hazardous, if it is most hazardous, so the rates would be higher. Say for example petrols, oils, that would be higher. If they are the solids, non-hazardous, like metal items, like wooden items, the rate would be lower. So the rating depends upon the underwriters. But the competitive rates are there in the market. Nothing to worry for that. Now there is a Public Liability Insurance Act 1991 which says if there is any loss to the public, that has to be compensated. So as per the Act, this policy is not mandatory, not compulsory, but still. Without this policy, the transporter cannot carry out his business because loss or damage is a routine affair. It all depends upon the number of vehicles carried and the goods transported every day. So once the goods are transported from the point of origin itself, the possibility of loss or damage increases. So all the transporters are taking this policy, and with this policy only they are doing their business. This is necessary for them just because if any loss is there during the journey or during the custody period of the transporter firm, the responsibility to pay the compensation is on the transporter, and he cannot escape the liability. This liability, if it is a routine affair, it is a day-to-day affair, we have to pay the compensation more than whatever he has earned throughout the year. So that loss is unbearable. This is the only policy that will save their liability. This will save the burden of financial losses. So every transporter will take this policy. Maybe when you are going to sell this policy to any transporter firm, you will find it difficulty because people or established transport firms are already having this policy from some other insurance companies because the policy is not new. But since it is 3-year or 4-year old in our company, so maybe you may not get the chance. But once you take the entry in the transporter firm, you have the double benefit because you are not only giving the carrier legal liability insurance policy to their entire fleet, but you also have the scope to get the motor insurance business because whatever number of vehicles are owned by the transporter, they all have to be comprehensively insured. Plus, the hired vehicles will also be insured, but the policy will be taken by their respective owners. So they will take the comprehensive policy and they will submit a photostat copy to the transporter firm, which has hired their vehicles. So the volume of business is likely to increase both the ways because the carrier's legal liability insurance premium as well as the motor insurance premium, both will be in your kitty once you take an entry into the transporter firm. And transporter firms are across the country, everywhere, in every city, in every district, in every state. Almost every state or every city has a transport nagar where you will find hundreds of transportation firms. So you don't need to create the business, it is already there. You only have to provide the coverage, make an entry, take the proposal, and materialize it. So this is Career Legal Liability Insurance. If you have any questions, you can ask me, or I will send a test paper on your mail ID. Any doubts from anyone? Any doubts? Good, that means you have no doubts. You are already selling this policy and this is not new to you. All doubts are clear to you. Now you can just check your mail ID. Hopefully all of you are getting the test paper on your mail ID. You only have to attend all the 10 questions. Once the questions are complete, you can just click on the submit button. That will automatically come to me. Geetika ji, are you there? Geetika ji. This meeting will continue with Amit ji, or they can exit after submitting the test paper? Mr. Amit ji has already left for us. You are not able to hear me. Oh. My video is it. Just my video is it. Okay, everybody has got the test paper on the mail ID or not? Anybody can confirm? Received. Point number 1. Okay, Geetika ji, I am asking you, after submitting the test paper, can they exit or the Amit sir will continue with the meeting? They can exit, okay. Third point is, tomorrow at 10 o'clock we will start, and on the same link provided by you or provided by me? I am comfortable in both the circumstances, don't worry. If your link is okay, I will join on that link also. This link, okay. So everybody has to listen carefully. Tomorrow again we will join at this link at 10 o'clock sharp. Okay, now go ahead with your test paper, complete the test paper and submit it.